Hello, hello. We're here in the room once again. It's a chilly day, but nice weather. The sun is out. Nevertheless, we're inside. And today, for discussion, it's going to be Kurt Vonnegut's Breakfast of Champions. So Kurt Vonnegut was an American writer, very active post-World War II up until the beginning of the 21st century. Best known for his novel Slaughterhouse-Five. However, Breakfast of Champions is also a well-known book by him. Vonnegut, he lived... In many ways, he had some traumas in his life, and many of his books express these. For one, he fought in World War II. He was captured. He was a prisoner of war, and he survived the bombings at Dresden. And that's very much what Slaughterhouse-Five concerns itself with, that memory in his life. So it's semi-autobiographical. His mother also committed suicide quite early in his life, actually before the bombings of Dresden, just as he was about to get deployed for World War II. His mother committed suicide. So this trauma stuck with him for much of his life. And it's expressed in Breakfast of Champions, especially his mother's suicide. Now, Breakfast of Champions is written in a very metafictional fashion, in the sense that Kurt Vonnegut draws attention to the fact that he is the author. He lets readers know he is the author, that he is actually a person. He tries to assert himself in this, and he asserts these tragedies that I'm talking about. He actually mentions them in the story as he is the author, yet there are fictionalized characters within the story. It primarily concerns these two characters, Kilgore Trout and Dwayne Hoover. Kilgore Trout is a character that props up in many of Vonnegut's novels. He is a reclusive, not very well-known writer of science fiction stories. He's a very prolific writer, but he's not very well-known, very bitter, cynical man. In many ways, he seems to be what Vonnegut thought he could have become had he not become famous or well-known. He would have become someone like Kilgore Trout. Meanwhile, Dwayne Hoover is a very wealthy man who's amassed quite a lot of fortune, quite a lot of real estate and influence. However, he's just recently has dealt with a tragedy. Dwayne Hoover, his wife committed suicide, and he's kind of acting a bit funky and strange throughout these in the wake of that tragedy. I think that tragedy does happen a few years prior to to where the novel is based chronologically. However, Dwayne Hoover is still coming to grips with that and struggling with that. So the novel concerns primarily these two characters, and they're going to have a meeting. And this meeting is very much built up as it's going to be a fatal meeting. It's going to be a very critical meeting for perhaps for both characters. And this story, this novel, Breakfast of Champions, it's replete with Kurt Vonnegut's little drawings, some funky little drawings. Here's one of the covers. There's all kinds of drawings. It's also called Blue Monday. That's the name of it. But there's just little doodles everywhere. And in these doodles, we really see Vonnegut entering into a mode, not just the doodles, but also through his writing. He's entering the mode of an anthropologist. He seems to be examining this world that he's created, which is America, but it's there's something slightly different about America, or it's a particular America that Vonnegut sees. and he is writing almost as if he has created this America, but he's also a product of this America. This is a gray world of machines that are creating machines and making machines to kill people, and machines that poison people. It's a very sludgy, mildly dystopian outlook on America at that time. However, Vonnegut's writing is very much as if he is a historian writing as if this is a lost world, as if he's an alien and he's describing things, or as if this is an artifact, this is an old text, and he's describing an old way of America. He would say, this is how people did this is how this happened. In this world, certain things don't exist anymore, such as pears, for example. Certain things have gone extinct, have left our world in this one that Vonnegut has conjured. Yet it's at the same time it does seem like this is in the 70s though, which is the time that Vonnegut did write this. So most of the novel is building up to this meetup between Kilgore Trout and Dwayne Hoover. And Kilgore Trout, funnily enough, he finally gets some recognition. He gets invited to a very big, not necessarily very big, but a decent sized convention, an artists convention where he can, where he can become uncovered as the great literary product of the United States, or this area of the Midlands, which is, I believe it's the Midwest in the United States that he's going to. He's based out east, I think in New York or somewhere, New York State, and he's moving out west to the Midwest for this convention. And Kilgore Trout is finally going to get the recognition he deserves. Trout is very cynical though. He kind of scoffs at this, and he thinks, how can I make myself the dirtiest, ugliest, crummiest looking person, and how can I kind of besmirch this convention as best I can. He's that type of character, a very bitter character. Whereas Dwayne Hoover is slowly going a bit loco and crazy. And it seems to be because of the trauma of his wife, but he also feels quite desensitized to life and towards life. He's experiencing a sense of perhaps nausea and to his existence, a la Sartre, we could say. This kind of idea where he's not really, he doesn't really feel quite comfortable in his body and doesn't really understand his purpose in life. As I said, this is a meta story, and Vonnegut does appear. He doesn't say I'm Kurt Vonnegut necessarily. Maybe he does at some points. But Vonnegut does appear and become more prominent in the novel towards the end as a character. And he witnesses this interaction between Dwayne Hoover and Kilgore Trout. Kilgore Trout essentially has a short story that he's written that asserts that the reader is the only person with consciousness and free will, and now they're free to do whatever they want. And Dwayne Hoover reads this at the convention, and he goes bonkers and crazy and starts attacking everyone and yelling at everyone. And that's really the climax, this kind of big, this violent assault that Dwayne Hoover has on everyone. But yes, this is a world of gray machines, bombs and chemicals. People are going local because of the chemicals. It's just said simply like that, the chemicals. Machinery is a very important thing. People are described as machines. Machines are described as machines. Things are described as machines. And perhaps I'm going to extrapolate a bit my own analysis from this, or my own beliefs from this, because it has been a few weeks since I've read this, and I can't really pinpoint it exactly if this is in the novel, but the idea that machines exist just to create more machines, these specific type of machines, and this is a process in life, is something that to me is quite real. Everything to me exists in this world just to create itself, just to continue itself. And humans being described as machines, working machines. There's a commentary definitely on race relations in the United States and the social context and the world we live in the United States, and how what type of jobs certain people work, and slavery is mentioned quite often. It's a theme that's propped up over and over again, which is why this novel does have an anthropological, historical, and social context and basis to it, and an interesting framing, in that it is sort of looking at the phenomenon of work in the United States, we could say, or forced labor in slavery as well, and bringing it to a modern age and seeing that many of these changes, while there have been changes, people are still essentially machines and used to work and create this part of this greater cog of machines. The physicality of the world is described sometimes quite humorously. There are large sections where penises are described, the size of a penis, size of so-and-so's penis or whatever, the size of women's hips and all of that. The angle of physicality is stressed at certain times in Vonnegut's narrative. I wouldn't say this is pervasive throughout the narrative. It just kind of jumps and hits you, and Vonnegut doesn't care if he'll write, a page about just penises. But then he'll come back to that later and write it again and come back to that. Like many of Vonnegut's stories, there's quite a lot of humor in that, absurdism. But this physicality is contrasted towards the end by a slight, a little extract on art, a little commentary on art, in that art itself is also used to generate more art, to generate more ideas and more thinking. And this commentary, if I recall, it occurs when the abstract artist has to sort of justify why his art is so valuable to certain other artists at the convention, who many of them scoff at his art. Because it's abstract art. It's like, what is this? Some squiggly lines. They say, oh my gosh, a kid could have done this. But he retorts that, okay, yes, if my art does inspire a kid to do something like this and to create more squiggly lines and more art like this, then all the better for it. So again, we have this idea of things existing for themselves, to create themselves, to continue to be perpetuated. Art is something that is being continuously created just to create more art. Obviously the idea of free will is continuously expressed, whether we are in stories being written as stories, whether we have free will or not. It seems like Vonnegut is leaning towards the not part, that we are being written in stories. And that's why the confrontation between Kilgore Trout and Vonnegut himself, his character, is the most interesting part. Whether Kilgore Trout influences Vonnegut's character in here, or Vonnegut in real life, sort of a meta switch, can be something to be thought about. But Vonnegut essentially asserts towards the end that he did create Kilgore Trout. I created you. But Trout doesn't really care. Trout thinks, okay, you created me, so what? Because Trout himself is a novelist, a creator. And perhaps creators of art, perhaps creators of art are fine with not having a sense of free will or anything like that. I don't know, it's something to chew on. Perhaps creators of art just see it as their destiny. This is what they have to do. They have no other choice but to go on this path and embark on this ordeal. So that's Breakfast of Champions by Kurt Vonnegut. Not too long, like most of his novels, although this is one of the longer ones. They're about 300 pages. A lot of cute drawings in it, a lot of playful humor in it. Quite a lot of social commentary though, and dark themes that prop up, obviously free will, race relations prop up all the time. But that's the video. Kurt Vonnegut's Breakfast of Champions. Hope you guys are having a good time. Take care.